I mean, from August 3rd
Okay.
or 4th
Okay.
for a couple of days.
Okay.
We're going to hopefully have some very good healing opportunities for
Yeah.
people.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm excited about that.
I'm gonna take unpaid leave.
Facebook is ready when you're ready.
Great. Okay, well, we're ready. Here, I moved my, and turned off my phone. So that's a little, and we're ready to go. Now, do you want to lead us in, or do you want me to do it?
Go ahead, Miss Vicky.
Okay. Okay, well, I do have it down to it. I'm used to it now. So,
You
okay.
got it.
Okay, so we're ready. We're ready to go. Okay.
Timer set.
Yep, and we're on the air.
Put the clapper in front of your face. When you hit the clapper, you're on the air.
Thank you. Welcome to Talking Peace with the Western New York Peace Center, being produced here at Think Twice Radio, in the home of the future. Also the home of our friend and producer, Richard Wicca. Thanks, Richard. And we thank our friends at WBNY, Buffalo's original alternative radio station, 91.3 FM, coming out of Buff State. So thank you, Buff State. And as we think of thanks, I think of our indigenous friends who teach us to start everything with those words of acknowledgement for the people who are making it happen, and the love that brings the people there. Our Mother Earth, who gives us everything we need, and who we have all of the plants, the medicinal and the nutritional plants, the trees with their beauty and their air that they give us, the oxygen, increased oxygen, and all the different animals, the swimming four-legged and the flying animals, that and all the different elements in our creation, and the Creator who has given us our instructions, and if we could just follow them, we would be able to be sure that life can continue in this creation. So we try to have the good mind together, and then we would say Yahweh, and the people would say Nyo.
No.
Nyo.
That part.
No.
Nyo.
Yo.
Well, I'm very, very grateful to be here. I'm Vicki Ross. I'm now the board chair or co-chair at the Western New York Peace Center, and we have a very special show tonight with wonderful. I'm going to go in as the Haudenosaunee do, in sort of counterclockwise. So I would go next to Deidre Emel, who is our fearless leader, our executive director at the Western New York Peace Center. Yay!
We honor you.
Hello. Peace and love.
Peace and love.
Peace and love. And go to Karima Morris, who is our special guest today. So Karima, thank you so much for coming
Thanks for having me.
here in studio. She is, not only is she a former board member who served her entire 3-year term faithfully and still doing things for us.
Yeah.
Still
Yes.
helping us with security and
Love the
all
Western New
kinds
York
of
Peace Center.
Well, we love you. We love you. And so this is what we're going to be talking about, Karima's organization, Bury the Violence. So I'm going to say, when we're thinking of, and that's really the topic for this show, Bury the Violence, and how to bury the violence, and also about the history, the work, the hopes and needs and dreams and plans for Bury the Violence.
Yeah.
So before we do, then we're gonna. I won't forget that we want to start with the values.
Our values.
So when we think about the values and we think about Bury the Violence, so I want to ask Deidre to go first, and then Karima, and then I'll add in for values that you think of when you think of Bury the Violence.
Yeah. I think of. Well, first, I just wanted to
Sure.
mention, because it's fun. It's funny. We all laugh. I could say fearless leader, but I have to think about that, and I say, you know what? It takes many people with courage to make a fearless one, and I think that's a lot to be said with even with Bury the Violence and the values that it takes so much courage to keep pushing forward when no one else does. To keep turning over rocks, to knock on doors, to continue to look for people that other people have forgotten. It takes a lot of courage to look a mother in the eye and say, we haven't found anyone yet, but we are still trying. And their hope is so low, to the ground. So it takes a lot, I believe, a lot of strength, a lot of courage. So the values bring is courage. I bring, support. What does that mean? And supporting the supporters. Yeah. So, yeah, courage, compassion, support.
Wow.
Thank you so much, Deidre. So the values of Bury the Violence, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you said courage, and what else did you say, Deidre? I thought you said compassion.
Compassion and support.
Compassion.
And support.
And support.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, thank you. The values that we have is respect, honor, and love.
Mm-hmm.
We respect the fact that every family is different, that we have to adhere to the needs of every family on unique basis, because we don't know what we're going into. Okay? And so we value them, as Christ has said, to love everybody with the love of Christ. So we love them in that compassionate way. And we value their situation. Everybody copes differently. We don't know what they're going through.
Right.
We don't know the pain, and we don't know the layers. So we value their situation, and we come in and assess their needs based on their specific process as to how they're getting through it.
Right.
So,
Well, I want to say it's funny. It was funny to me in a way that Deidre said courage. Because when I think of Bury the Violence, I do think of courage. I do. When I think of you and what you're doing, and we'll get more into exactly what that means. But I think people, even from what Deidre had already said and what you're just saying, that it will become clearer. But courage being one of the hugest, really huge, and strength. And yes, the compassion, but the ones I usually mention, truth and love, also needed so much. The truth being, the authenticity, and speaking about what needs to be said, but that courage and that strength, that's that courage, comes from the French word for heart. Cœur, your heart. So courage is that heart gives us courage. That love is what makes for the courage, because we just have to do. And I know that is some of how, and it brings me really.
yeah, I see you over there. Don't start cutting up on us, okay?
Yeah.
She's so passionate about it. Like, I have to not look sometimes, because people who see me in the struggle and people who see me boots on the ground, they think I'm crazy sometimes. Like, that's what you're about to do?
Well, because it's the love.
Right.
It's because it has,
Somebody has to do it, right?
Right. So maybe if you want to just tell how you started with Bury the Violence.
So the way I started Bury the Violence was in 2013. On a Sunday, I got a call from my sister that my niece hadn't returned from church with her grandmother, and that everybody else was home. And so as time passed and my sister asked questions and things like that, we found out that my niece hadn't been with her grandmother at church, and that she was missing. And so we take account, right, because we know our children.
Right.
Does she have her snacks? No. Does she ever smell good? No. Are her underwear there? No. It's a problem, right? And so I worked in the retail management world, in which you're locked into your store.
Right.
If your staff doesn't show up, you have to do what you have to do to maintain that store, get those numbers, keep that conversion down. At that point, I could care less what was going on with that store. I needed to get back to Buffalo from Niagara Falls and find my niece. And so I told my sister to contact BPD and have a missing persons report done, because that's process, right?
Right.
Okay. We were told she was a runaway. She had never did this before, and I beg to differ. And you know, I have a very strong personality, so
Right.
It just became what it was, and it started raining. We had flyers going. We were street to street, door to door, and then, you know, skip tracing on social media. So we were basically told that my niece was a runaway, and we were left to do everything we needed to do to get my niece home. Because as everybody knows, the first 48, I don't watch TV, but I know that it's vital that within the first 48 hours, you have to be vigilant. So I started because how I was received in the community, how information was splattered all over the place. Instead of people calling us, the information that was given to us was based on other people trying to hide their hand. And it wasn't a lot of truth. It was a lot of consistency. And so, you know, just like any other gossip, you take the consistent part, and that's the truth, right? So we knew where she was at. We didn't know she was dead. We didn't know someone had stabbed her to death. We, being spiritual people, we could recognize evil when we see it. I was called a psychic, and the police told me we don't do psychics. Well, I'm not a psychic, first of all. And you're talking about my blood relative.
Right.
And so I felt the evilness in the people who had to come in front of me. And another one of my sisters said, she's behind the house. And they formed a prayer circle on the opposite side of the street. And we felt everything. Her mother, my sister, knew, but you couldn't tell me she was gone. And so we were told it was a holiday and that the detectives don't work. Things have changed now. The detectives had different schedules. But at any rate, they wouldn't go in the backyard where my niece was for days.
Wow.
Her arms were severed. Her throat was severed. They poured gasoline on her. They covered her up with garbage. And then Dorinda got on a news conference and said while the family was making all of that noise, fuss, whatever he said, she was already dead.
What?
And so you talk about flip my switch. I've been mad since 2013.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So it's my moral obligation at that point to come back and do everything that wasn't done.
Right.
Yes.
Okay? And so it's a lot of red tape on these organizations. I don't want to be them. We are not the same.
Right.
I'm green light.
Right.
People contact me. Here I come.
Right.
But first I'm going to seek God. I'm going to ask him to show me the way. And I'm going to know if it's for me or not. Because everything is not for me.
Right.
But when he brings it to me, he can bring me through it. So that's why I do what I do. Even with the funeral thing, like going through the crime victims applications and other organizations. And I watched. And a lot of people probably to this day don't like me because my response. If I'm sitting here investigating and I see your hand with the people who I know had my niece and here trying to help us, you got to go. Don't put her on the t-shirt. Don't collect the dollar. And we not doing none of that. And so we formed our own, at that point, everything, because I refused to let somebody else go through that who came in contact with me, or that I got a call, or people were like, I don't know who they thought I was. Like, can you help me find my child's murderer? So it's been that way ever since that.
Right.
And that's just where we started. And
Wow.
because you provide that great length of services, it's little stuff in the middle that have to be done. And so it was missing runaway traffic, exploited kids, and homicide, all from the very start.
Right.
It was just figuring it out and walking it through and being consistent and having a great support system and having a spiritual structure and belief and
Right.
strong faith to keep going and getting it done. So
Yeah.
God, grace, and just getting it done.
So it's such powerful work that you're doing, and it's back to how much courage it takes, how much courage and strength and endurance it takes, because it's just emotionally so difficult, and especially because you've been through it before. So, as you were telling it, I was just asking when we were talking, about how families come to you. And so, like you said, people just know, or they've heard, or,
I get a tag. I
Right.
get an inbox. I reach out to the family. My ultimate objective is never to disrespect the family.
Right.
I honor them, and, sometimes people don't understand that.
Right.
I can't just jump in and do something because I have to have permission.
Oh, right. Of course.
Okay.
Right.
So I try to maintain that at all times. And sometimes it's a waiting game, so I don't get the opportunity to jump in, and it's okay. Right?
Right.
So some people just know call. They know my phone number. People have literally Googled me and called my phone. And I'm like, yo, how you get my phone number?
Right.
But they call me like that.
Right.
And so I'm just honored. I mean, I can't do it all. It would be great to have more people as compassionate and trustworthy when it came to handling people's business and their lives. These are people's lives.
Right. Right.
So for that reason within itself, I've been very skeptical about connecting with other people and allowing other people in the space of those families.
Right.
So
Well, people are so vulnerable, and it really came out when you were just talking about
Yeah.
the work and the way that you do it. When we talked about values, that you really put the family. So it's back to when we talk about, the voice of the people who are most heavily impacted. So naturally, the families and the people who are grieving, who are fearful, who are, just in this hugely traumatic situation of wondering and yeah, it's just a lot.
Right.
And so putting them, their needs, their way of handling it, their, like you said, their coping mechanisms or whatever they need to do and the way they want to do it, putting that in the center of it. I want to shift a little gears to just mention and talk about the gathering that we just had on Sunday.
Right.
It was just this past Sunday.
Okay. This past Sunday was our 9th annual memorial walk. This year we walked to pursue peace, which was picked prior to all of this that took place in our city. We walked to memorialize our loved ones taken due to violence. I always ask for pictures in advance, timelines of their loved ones so I can memorialize them. My primary objective to memorializing in the park with the walk is for one, people to process, take in nature, see what's around them, decompress. That's why we had the the calming session before by my sister Tamika, in which she allows me to honor her daughter through doing this organization, Lanesia Rollerson. And so we memorialized. We had a memorial garden set up along the curve of Ring Road where you could see the pictures. And this year it stopped the people, not my banners. You see, I didn't have one banner.
Right.
They stopped and looked at the pictures. They had questions. It was emotional. People came back to celebrate lives with us, right?
Right.
And so I always encourage families to wear shirts telling their story. You have necklaces, earrings, signs, banners. Your lifeline is to be shared with the community and know that we care. So
Right.
that walk opened up a lot of eyes. It helps families process their story and see that they're not in it by themselves, right? So they had this year we had a mother who lost her child due to fentanyl overdose. And she said she doesn't have a voice and she wants these things, and I'm like, you're already doing it. She brought out an information table and that and Bibles and journals
Right.
and pictures, and she told her story. And Jamaica Gates family, they bring out stuff from domestic violence. So we have information, we have stories, we have healing, we walk, we embrace nature. And it opposed to some way people choose to have parties or things that have drinking and may escalate to more violence, right? So ultimately, we wanted to celebrate in a space that was safe and healing,
Right.
and to eliminate street memorials in which I have 6 kids, right? And coming back to the city, I don't want to walk my kid out to the bus stop and see these places where people were killed.
Right.
Okay, so
Right.
I started buying headstones through fundraising so we can memorialize in that place.
Right.
So the walk stems all of that together.
Right. Well, so Deidre, I want you to, if you would talk a little bit about your, your feelings and impressions on the walk, and you actually did the walk this Sunday.
Yeah, this is my first time. Even though I've known Karima for a few years, this is my first time making it out to the walk, and it was. I said first, wow, it's quite early. Will anybody show up?
Always early. We got to get our piece.
No,
right.
I mean, I'm good, but I don't know, like what kind of turnout,
Sure.
of people that come at 8:30, to Delaware Park, and so it was a beautiful, beautiful Sunday morning, and it was just a perfect weather, and I first came out because I'm just like, okay, I really have to I just wanted to make a bit more of an effort to make sure I do support my sister, Karima, and all that she does, and she's always got something going on. I said, okay, I'm going to make one. I want to make at least one, as we go, and hopefully many more. And so I came out for her, and at the same time, I learned that I wasn't just out there for her. I was really out there for other victims and and the parents, and just spreading hugs. I'm a hugger. I believe in hugs heal. Just to listen, be a listener. To take in, to learn about these individuals' lives. Was also healing to those who lost them, to be able to share stories. And I think seeing like the book of the young ladies when she was born to her graduating high school, to her having her own children, it make you really consider your own children, your own family. So even though, okay, I'm aware, quote unquote, it still brings it home to your heart, to your heartstrings of, why this is. And everybody has a different story, and no story is less or, or more. We all have loss. And so I met a friend along the way as we walked. I won't say her name online, but Yeah, but it was great that because we kind of came out with similar thoughts. You know, like it's something that is hard to get out of your regular routine.
Right.
You know, to do something different or to do something that you do care about, and whether it's the person or the topic or what have you. But to get out of your routine and make sure you do, you make it happen. And so, so we had a lot in common on that, and listening to the universe and to the spirit, and just kind of following that call, and so this person I didn't know, but she makes greeting cards, and she helps memorialize for victims' families as well. And I was just like, wow, you never know who you're gonna meet.
Right.
And so anyway, so it was just really a learning experience for me. No matter what I think I've gone through, it was still a learning experience that I was telling the other lady that I'm a doer, I'm a problem solver usually. Like something's happening, I need to figure out how we're going to, get through it. And when I can't do that, especially if a person loses someone or, something like you can't really do anything to fix it. I used to just disconnect because it was so heart-wrenching for me.
Right.
I thought about my own heart, I understand myself as an empath, so I really, I really feel, how they're feeling. And so it just tear me apart that I couldn't do anything about it. And so I would do the opposite. I wouldn't do anything. And I'd probably take a few weeks before I even call, hey, I heard about such and such. How you doing? Like I wouldn't call right away. I wouldn't bring over a plate right away. It's just like, what do you say? What do you say to this person who's lost, their loved one? But I had to learn the hard way that the more you are involved in, whether it's, the more you're involved in either helping the victim, whether they was going through a circumstance that victim or a person that's dying, really. It's a service, and I, put my doula hat on. It's there are doulas that actually hold and support people, on it through their death and dying. Yeah, through their transition. And I learned, that it was so much more healing for the supporter, for the healer to do that, to be there, just to sit in the presence.
Yeah.
I'm here for you. Just stay there and be silent. But I'm there.
Right.
I had to, it took me some time, years, to understand that sometimes only that is needed. And as long as I got the strength and and I can do that. So each time, because I would get high anxiety each time. Now it's just like, what? If I don't go and do something, connecting, then then it really eats at me.
Right.
Now, and I have let that happen. So now, to help myself along with helping them is, hey, I'm here. Do you need anything? Do you want me to just come by? I can just sit with you. I just sit on the phone in silence.
Right.
Right.
Because you don't think that that's helpful. Not for, people that like to do things like I got to wash some dishes. I got to cook you something. I got to do something. That's that energy.
The thing you did was showed up and supported.
But there's so many different pieces, though, and it makes me think of actually being a social worker. So sometimes social workers get in that thing of like, we want to fix it, right? And that wounded healer thing that can go into the direction of problem solving, and that practical help, sometimes it really is what people need, a meal or something you bring or something you do for them. But anyway, I was going to say, it was actually amazingly in Kansas, the School of Social Work, that they started, they did this thing where they said, it's just about authentic witness. That being, that's all that's needed. There's no problem solving, there's no guidance. People will figure out what they need to figure out.
Right, just be.
But that authenticity, that's what we're, authenticity, and that just being in the presence and doing it. The other thing I was going to say is when you said about being a hugger, I thought, is that one of the requirements of the executive director of the Western European Center?
It is.
It must be. It must be.
It is.
I want to say the thing that really struck me and always strikes me is the love, the amount of love that is in that gathering, and especially with the children.
Right.
The children that are there, and it lifts my heart, so there's so much of joy because the children are there.
Right.
Because it's like the whole thing of how are the children? So we love the children. We have to be in that, doesn't mean there isn't going to be any crying or,
right.
That there isn't, all the different pieces. But one of them is the love and the joy that is there. It's just so strong and it's just so beautiful.
And Deidre, just to follow up on what you said, it's crazy because some people are like, none of my people got killed. I don't need to go to that walk or, whatever. And so because my support system, I need y'all. Y'all know I'm moving around, right?
Right.
So I set y'all up every time. And you end up linking with somebody who needs you, who cries on you, who holds on to you, and you end up connecting with so many people, right? And all you did was show up.
Right.
Just show up.
And your work was already done because people need us to support them.
Right.
Right.
And that's the biggest part, is showing up to the walk. You don't directly lose a person all the time, but it's our community that lost. Oh, you didn't even know that child played. Like my son was talking to Janice's son, and I'm like, you know him? And they knew each other, right?
Wow.
That's two families connected.
Mm-hmm.
That's two homicides.
Mm-hmm.
They go to school, they play ball together or what have you. You just never know, right? So you show up thinking you're just here to support, but you're really working and you're supporting the community and those families.
Right.
And so I honor and thank you, Western New York Peace Center, for always having my back and showing up and just being authentic.
Mm-hmm.
And that authenticity is what we don't have a lot of in the community. And when people are just trying to work and they're making you part of their agenda, and we're here to serve them, and that's the difference.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So I honor you and I thank you for that, because the walk, people are needed to show up. And that's why a lot of the people stopped, right? People stopped walking. People stopped running.
Right.
People came over. They asked questions. They asked, how can I help? They hugged. They showed love.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, and especially this year, I want to say, people are reeling. I mean, I know, I feel it, and I am not one of the people, obviously, who's most heavily impacted, because black people are going to be, and then the more you're in that neighborhood, the more you you go to the store, the closer that, so there's whole rings, there's ripple effect.
Right.
But the ripple effect goes all the way through, because people are reeling in Buffalo from the trauma of what happened, because the brazenness, the violence, racism, the white supremacy, the sitting duckness of the
sitting
attack,
duck.
you know, and the way and the why. Because the other thing, and we did a show on the racism and resilience, the Black history in Buffalo, New York, and we'll do more on that. But like the strength of the Black community that has withstood so much and thinks, you know, so that's what we have that sort of side by side of like just make and do anyway. And then all the strength that is in the Black community, why we have the Juneteenth, that's the second or third biggest in the country, why we have the Kwanzaa, one of the biggest Kwanzaas that
we have Juneteenth all year long here, actually.
Right.
If you follow the Juneteenth page, Juneteenth is bigger than June.
I do.
And they have events year round.
Right.
And yes, and all month long. So it's just not that weekend, but.
So all of that. Anyway, so bury the violence, you know, and that walk coming when it did, you know, now is really even more meaningful.
Right. Because the community embraced.
Right.
And, you know, sometimes we disregard so much. Okay. So that's a historic park, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
It's predominantly white neighborhood, right?
Right.
And a white kid got killed from Kenmore at that park.
Right.
And the people who walked that park every day didn't have a clue.
They didn't.
They looked at me like, he got killed where?
Really?
And I'm like, here. And can you believe it's absolutely nothing being done about it? Can you believe his family has no closure? Can you believe it was a live feed of 9 minutes and 35 seconds of somebody telling him? Right? Yeah.
Wow. Right.
Right. So guess what? Now this happened in your community, and you're a part of the problems that I see in my community. And if you don't do something about it, it might be the thing to do because somebody got away with it there. You know, people took accountability and responsibility.
So one of the things that I know is that it's also a fundraiser. And I want to talk about that fundraiser element.
What happened
and the
was,
plans. Go ahead.
My dear friend Brandy, she got me. You know, I do this out of pocket, right?
Right.
And I have always been skeptical of asking for money because I wear things that people don't buy, right?
Right.
And I never want anybody to think that they're doing something for me when I'm doing something for somebody else.
Right.
So it was always a barrier for me. This is a huge move for me to have a donate button, for me to ask for money for headstones. It's like, it's a huge thing. And on any given day, I spend $150 if somebody calls and says somebody was killed and I got to go drop chicken, juice, and bread off. Right? And so my friend Brandy showed up. She had these coupons. She had tickets. She had raffle items. She said, call your friends and ask them for stuff to donate.
Yeah.
I was like, girl, you just pushed me out of my element.
Right.
You know, so Brandy's part of the team. Little does she know it or not. Her mother are very supportive to me. And, you know, sometimes people just say, well, what can I do? And sometimes I feel like my vision is not understood. Brandy didn't care. Brandy did what she knew to do.
Right.
And it helped me in ways I never even knew I needed help. And it broke me out of the shell of not asking or holding back on posting my link because I'm a nonprofit organization. Right? And I have 6 kids and 3 grandkids and I have to provide.
Right.
And I go to work and I work 2 or 3 jobs outside of what I do.
Yes, you do.
And I had a nerve to not want to ask for help.
So I'm going to say btvbuffalo.org. So bury the violence, or in other words, btvbuffalo.org. If you go there, you will see the donate button and you can donate. Now, so what your donations could go towards headstones,
Right.
Food for families that are in
Toward flyers.
Right.
Right. These flyers cost money. They're
Right.
colored.
Right. Here.
Sometimes I
Here.
get the plastic ones. I'm in
Here,
C.
put it-
Oh,
put
I'm
it up.
A.
Wait.
Right?
here,
Can you
here,
see
here.
it?
Here,
Oh.
if you put it, wait, let's see.
Mhm.
There's,
Got it in the right-
there's another way that Richard has it hooked up for us, but let me see. I'm a
Yeah.
little closer to the camera, so.
So there's another way.
But I can also read it to people too. Missing, this is Jalen Griffin. He's 13 years old, last seen on August 20th of 20.
Well, actually, it was
20.
8-4. I just no slash, but yeah.
And then it was location is Broadway and Memorial area in Buffalo. And there's a contact number here, 716-703-8771. So is that your number?
That is one of my phone numbers.
One of the phone numbers.
Right.
So
That's
I'm going to say it again, 716-703-8771.
Right.
But also, if people go to your website, will they see a picture of Jalen?
They'll see everything
They'll
of
see
Jalen.
everything. Right.
And so this is one thing that the money goes to.
Sure.
Okay, and so I have
Flyers.
a visibility campaign because I came in late on Jalen.
Right.
I had a 100% success rate in finding children. Time is of the essence, and once I get in, I don't come out until I have your
Right.
child.
Right.
So I felt like it wasn't enough being said.
Right. It's almost 2 years. I
Well,
know you had
yeah,
it.
and so I kind of like choked, and so my coworker, another one, she said, "Okay, I seen this billboard. Me and my husband didn't know,
Right.
and they're in the law enforcement
Right.
field to great lengths." And she said, "But what are you doing? This is what you do. What are you doing to help his family?" And I was like, well, it's a lot of people. She said, "I want to know what Bury the Violence is doing. This is what you're supposed to do." So I said, well, give me about 2 days. Let me reach out to his family,
Right.
and which we have connected family, but still not that close for them to be like, "I trust you with my child's life." So they gave me permission, and we just took off from there. And so what I'm doing right now for the visibility campaign, I've had up since January. It's on my website as well.
Right.
We're trying to we're not trying. We're going to contract with NFTA
Uh-huh.
to put his pictures on the train
Sure.
and on the buses, because
Great.
mobility gets more messages around than we can. Everybody
Right.
does not
Sure.
watch social media.
Right,
Everybody
right.
doesn't drive past a stable billboard.
Right.
And this could be, we're in the middle of Canada,
Right.
Ohio. You got all of these
Right.
underground gun operations
and-
and
yeah,
trafficking and stuff we don't know. Right? So we need our message back and forth across the Niagara Buffalo frontier. And so I believe that would have been one of the biggest things. I've reached out to milk companies. I've reached out to trucking companies, and I have to just keep putting my foot in their neck. But so the money is going to go towards that. We have
Right.
our walk every year. That probably
Right.
cost me a base of $1,000 just to show up, right?
Sure. Right.
So we have multiple causes. So, and then we also help to buy the headstones, which are about $1,200 per family.
And we were also talking about some of your plans for healing kinds of opportunities, back to that again.
Yes.
Because that is so needed, because people are so traumatized, so hurt, so grieving.
So I'm a big square, right? According to some of my friends. And one way that people say, "Oh my God, how do you restore yourself? How do you replenish?" I go outside.
Right. Nature.
I use nature.
Yes.
I take hikes. I go
Right.
horseback riding.
Right.
I go in the mountains.
Let me know.
I've been. I'm just
Yeah.
waiting for you.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Oh, we gotta go.
So our program is going to be called Peace in Range. Okay, and so it's right there. We just got to get you there to get it. And we're going to have, we're having restorative circles right now.
Right.
Candid conversations, allowing kids to voice their opinion
Right.
about their experience in this situation that our city was just tragically attacked with.
Right.
We want to take them out of their element. I experienced somebody who is over 40 and they'd never been to Delaware Park and they lived in Buffalo all their life, right?
Right.
We got work to do.
Right.
So the simple things like hiking, like trailing, that are free. Horseback riding is not not costly
Right.
as it used to be, but
Right.
it costs money.
Right.
And then I have to get the kids there. And then that's not only open to children, it's open to families, because it's a unit that if that parent hasn't experienced these things, then what hasn't the child?
Right.
So we're doing trauma-informed care,
Right.
using nature, CrossFit training, activities, right?
Right.
And so that's where we're at. We're stabilizing in a location, and I do have clinical help on board. And I'm just so grateful. Clinical, yes. My favorite doctor, Dr. Ross. And so I'm utilizing my circle, right?
Well, and there's
Yeah, and so I'm trying to give the community, like, so, my sister did the
right the healing.
healing, what was it?
What was
meditation.
Yeah, they.
I don't want to call it meditation.
What did she call it? Calming center.
The calming session, right?
Calming session. Right.
People did not know they needed that calming session.
Oh, I know.
People were there to work and walk, and they were affected by this calming session because you never know what you need until you experience it sometimes, right?
Right.
It didn't hurt to sit and enjoy. So those are the opportunities that we have available for our community to heal well.
Yes.
And
Yes,
there's so much work that needs to be done for the healing. So many opportunities, healing opportunities needed. And I want to say a little word, because we're just talking about healing. And so clinical means clinical. I like having the initials to put after my name, and I do use them and trot them out there every time I think they're going to help.
She's
and
Dr. Ross.
There is something to be gained. Well, I'm talking more also, especially about the MSW and the QCSW and the LMSW and all of that. But I mean, that's also it can mean something, or it cannot mean that much. And there are plenty of people, and I'm looking at two of them right here, who know very well because it's about truth and love, and it's that healing love. So real social workers are born and developed, and they're not made. So education can be a boost and a help, but that basic feeling for it, that has to be there.
Right.
That has to be there. And I know it's there, and the life experience helps us with that also so much. So, and that the love, that's what it is. And I want to say both of you have it so very much,
Thank you. And I had a quick question for you, Karima.
Yes.
How does it work with like law enforcement and other agencies?
Good question.
Do they work well with you? Do you have partners in those areas?
How does it work with me in law enforcement? Some of them, some of them.
Other agencies.
So some of them didn't even know I existed, right? Because I'm an advocate. And so that means I'm having conversations to diminish the stress off the family and things like that. I do have some key connections of people when I have a child that needs to be placed. Like if I literally find a kid running on the expressway, like I have on the 33, I have to have a contact person, right?
Right.
That I trust.
Right.
To bring that child to, even though it's law enforcement.
Right.
I do have some people that help me with that in law enforcement. I do work with detectives when it comes to missing children.
Right.
because I'm going to do what they don't. So I probably do a lot of work for them because I'm eager to get that thing closed and taken care of.
Right.
And because we think kind of different, being on the side of had lost a child, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so we move a little different.
Right.
And then we bring different perspective to the table. So I can't say other community partners that I have, law enforcement wise. I'd love to link up with some of the human trafficking teams and things like that so they can implement current pictures. Some of
That'd
the
be great.
school boards that if I need a picture of a kid and they go to school and you get the picture, they're 18, but the picture in the system is from 5th grade.
Right.
Mm.
Right.
We're staggering
Right.
our kids. Yes, people have social media, but you got filters.
Right.
Right.
So I would love to partner with more law enforcement type agency, FBI teams, and all of that other stuff so we can get like the 10-year challenge change from these kids' pictures being 10 years old. I really can't speak to that piece because I don't want to be negative. I just don't feel like I'm received in some of these places because I'm green tape. They have to wait to do this. They have to get clearance to do that. They told me about my niece, us knowing she was in the backyard and them telling me they couldn't and then telling me they was going to arrest me if I went in the backyard. Well, take me now, right?
Right.
Because I'm going in the backyard. And so that's sometime what I have to do. So we don't always see eye to eye.
Yes.
Okay, so that's just what it is. I can't answer that question much more.
No, it's an important question, and I'm glad you brought it up.
I'm willing to be compliant. I'm willing to give them all the information they need to do something
Right.
Right.
if they're going to do something.
And I want to say one of the things that I've seen is, it's just a lot of work needed to things running the way they need to. And we're really coming along towards the end of the show, actually. So, what?
Yeah. I still have more questions, but I'll ask you another time.
Yeah,
Just write your questions
well,
down.
to be continued.
We could do a Facebook Live
Yeah,
on
Yeah.
Bury the Violence question and answer session.
and we can do it. We can do another.
I know I don't
talking
want to
piece.
take up all your talking piece time.
Oh, don't you worry. We got 2 hours a week. You just did 2 hours with me
I
now,
hear you,
so
Dr. Ross.
We hear you too, and we know your number. We got your number. So I
Okay.
want to just say, so why don't we just, each of you, I'm going to say Deidre and then Karima, if you just want to give us like some closing thoughts about like what you want people to take away from this and going forward.
Letters are good, numbers are good, but a heart that is willing to do what it takes to make a change is better. So we need everybody. We need everybody on all levels.
Right.
And so I just commend Karima and her sister and those who are her team. And remember to support the supporters. Support those who are lifting up the families that are in need. Support them financially, spiritually, and and just be there for them. Just give them a call.
Share a post. Thank you.
So true.
That's right.
So true. And Karima?
I just want everybody to center themselves as a person on a planet that has to operate together. And then we wouldn't look at people as if it wasn't your problem, right? So instead of getting on a post and saying negative things about what you believe happened, where this kid is at, share the post. The information needs to be circulated.
Right.
treat these children, no matter how you feel personally in your own space about what's going on with these kids. Share it, because it could be your neighbor and it's coming back to your front door. It could be your niece, it could be your nephew, it could be your grandkid, it could be the next generation, when you could have saved somebody at this level of just sharing a post. Because ultimately, it is not just me. I need everybody to participate. Share the post, and consider the fact that we don't know what goes on in everybody's household, and that every child that's missing is not a runaway.
Right.
Bury the violence.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I just want to say it's all of our problem.
It is.
We all need to, as Deidre, as you said, as both of you said, there's so much that people can do when we feel, and that we need to do, because we're all affected. These are our children.
Mm-hmm.
These are our children, and this is our community. So there's so much needed, and sharing a post, everything from sharing a post to donating to the people who are doing the work, to feeling that we're all one here, and finding a way to really build community and grow community together, so that we do eradicate all the violence, the whether it's the violence of all kinds. Let's
Right.
say we have to bury the violence of all kinds. So so I want to say I couldn't be more grateful to both of you for all your wisdom, your hard work, your courage, your love that you share.
Likewise.
Both of you, so much.
Right.
Thank you,
Dr.
dear.
Rapp.
Time.
Thank you.
And these two doctors and healers here. So anyway, this is Talking Peace, and together we've been talking peace.
Peace.
In truth and love.
Amen.
Thank you so much. Now, amen, amen, amen. Yeah. Alhamdulillah. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Listen, those was good questions.
Oh, and I'm not kidding about another.
No, I went live because I never go live, but they were like, "Who's
Oh,
talking
good.
on the other side?"
Oh, okay.
We can't hear her. I'm like, none of your business.